Congratulations, Captain Wells. Brilliant strategy on the cyber resilience model. You've just secured our first Pentagon briefing next quarter. The boardroom burst into applause. I stood frozen. That strategy, my strategy, had taken 4 months of field simulations, revisions, and one sleepless week in Colorado. Now it had Wells's name stamped on it, and no one in the room batted an eye. Derek, he turned to me with a grin too wide, thanks for all the late-night brainstorms. Wouldn't have been possible without your groundwork. I clenched my jaw. Groundwork. That's what they called it now. The room cleared out in a blur of handshakes and chuckles. I stood there, the echo of betrayal louder than the applause. At 36, I was a decorated lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, disciplined, calculated, unshakable. But that morning, watching my work handed off like a coffee order, I felt 17 again, voiceless and invisible. And somehow that hurt more than any battlefield. Back in my quarters, I stared at the one constant that kept me grounded. A framed photo of a gray stone mansion nestled among pine trees, the Monroe Estate in Virginia. Worth nearly $70 million, it was more than a property. It was the place where I'd learned how to be a man. My father, Raymond Monroe, was a self-made investment mogul. Not loud, but formidable. He taught me what legacy truly meant, doing the right thing when no one was watching. My mother, Barbara, had been softer. Literature teacher, nighttime storyteller, the voice that taught me to love, not just lead. Then there was Ethan, my younger brother, 9 years my junior. Gentle, artistic, too pure for this world. While I built a career in war rooms, Ethan captured our family in charcoal sketches and watercolors. Our bond was unspoken but sacred. It used to be a family. Then Barbara died. A car accident. Ethan was 12. I was still a cadet at West Point when I got the call. Everything changed after that. I returned home to a mansion that felt like a mausoleum. Dad threw himself into work. Ethan retreated into silence. I tried to visit when I could, but duty had its demands. Then came Vivian. I still remember the first time Dad said her name. His voice cracked like an old tree under snow. "I'm getting remarried," he said, not meeting my eyes. "To who?" "Vivian. She's helped me find joy again." Vivian arrived with glossy blonde hair and a daughter named Holly, Ethan's age, but already hardened with sarcasm. She smiled too much, said all the right things. But every time she spoke, it felt like someone was rearranging our mother's memory. She didn't just redecorate the house, she rewrote the story of it. The rose bushes Mom once tended were replaced with sterile, modern landscaping. Her oil paintings removed. The bookshelf I helped her build for Ethan was too dated and replaced with cold white panels. But the worst came when Ethan called, voice cracking. "She tore it, Derek. The sketch I drew for Mom last Thanksgiving." Holly ripped it up and laughed. I took leave that night and flew straight to Virginia. Vivian greeted me in the living room in a cream dress, holding a glass of Chardonnay. "Derek, you're always so intense. It was just a drawing." I turned to my father. "You're really okay with this?" He said nothing, just looked at the floor. So I looked at Ethan, curled on the couch, his hands trembling. "I won't let her hurt you again," I told him. That night, I booked him a place at a prestigious boarding school in Massachusetts, paid the tuition myself. On the day we left, Ethan clutched his backpack like a lifeline. "This isn't home anymore," I told Dad at the gate. He didn't stop us, didn't even look up. Later that night, I got a text from Captain Wells. "Let's not make this personal. You're still valuable. Just background noise sometimes." I stared at the screen. In the same day, I had lost credit for my work, lost my father's spine, and nearly lost my brother to the wolves. But I was done being background noise. "Let them think we've walked away," I told Ethan. "They won't see what's coming next. If you've ever been overlooked after giving your all, type 1 below. Subject: Unauthorized access investigation, immediate response required." The email hit my inbox at 7:43 a.m. sharp, subject line in red. Inside, a notice from the Department of Defense Internal Compliance Team, flagging my recent leave. "Allegations suggest you used classified scheduling data for personal gain. This may constitute a violation of Article 92. Article 92, failure to obey an order or regulation. My hands froze over the keyboard. This wasn't just a reprimand. This was the kind of infraction that could destroy a career. I knew exactly where it came from. Captain Adrian Wells. He was retaliating. I'd seen his smug face too many times, but now he'd gone from stealing ideas to sabotaging my service record. I looked over at my duffel. It didn't matter. I wasn't staying, not today. Ethan had called last night. Dad was dying, and Vivian had locked him out. When I arrived at the Monroe estate, the gate, once a symbol of welcome, stood closed. Iron bars laced with vines like nature itself was trying to keep me out. Behind it stood Vivian, dressed in charcoal gray silk, her smile as polished as her diamond necklace. "You're not allowed in, Derek," she said without even a trace of warmth. "I'm his son." "He's very weak. Seeing you could disturb his rest." The doctor was clear. 2 security guards stepped forward. Not military, private muscle, intimidating, silent. "I'm not asking," I said. "You can call the police if you want," she replied, crossing her arms. "But until then, you're trespassing." I took a step back, opened my phone, and did exactly that. 15 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. 2 officers stepped out, a middle-aged man with a military-style haircut and a younger woman with sharp eyes. I explained the situation calmly, documents ready. "He's my father, gravely ill. She's not family by blood. I have the right." Vivian feigned concern when they rang the bell. "Oh goodness, what a misunderstanding," she cooed. "Of course Derek can come in. I was only protecting Raymond's peace." Inside, the house looked colder than I remembered. My mother's paintings were gone, the scent of roses replaced with air fresheners and tension. Vivian led me upstairs, heels clicking like a countdown. When I entered the room, I barely recognized my father. Raymond Monroe, once the lion of the boardroom, was a ghost in silk sheets. His skin was pale, eyes clouded, chest rising with machine-assisted breaths. "Dad," I whispered, kneeling beside him. His eyes opened slowly. A faint smile flickered. "Derek, I'm sorry for everything." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I'm here now." Vivian stood in the doorway like a shadow. The officers waited outside the room. "You've seen him," she said flatly. "Now leave." "No," I said, standing. "He needs us." She clapped her hands. The guards reappeared. "Escort him out." I turned to the officers. "Are you really going to let them do this?" The older officer hesitated, then looked at Vivian. "Is this a private residence?" "Yes." "Then we can't interfere unless there's violence." They left. I didn't resist as the guards gripped my arms and dragged me down the stairs. "You'll regret this," I said, as the gate slammed behind me. That night, Ethan called from college. His voice was dry, choked. I tried again. She said Dad's sedated, that he's resting. She's lying. Silence. "What if he dies, Derek?" I couldn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know if he was already gone. I wrote emails to Dad. I left voicemails. I drove by the house 3 times that week. No reply, no sign. Just Vivian's security cameras staring like mechanical vultures. Then came the funeral announcement. Via Vivian's assistant, not even her. "Your father passed peacefully this morning. Service is Saturday. Dress code is black tie." Just like that. No last call. No final goodbye. The funeral was cold, expensive, staged. Vivian wept crocodile tears. Holly smirked behind fake mascara. Ethan and I sat in the back pew like strangers. Afterward, we tried to go back to the mansion, just to pick up Dad's watch, maybe a letter, a memory. Vivian met us at the gate. "You're not coming in." "You can't be serious," I said. "This house was left to me and Holly. It's in the will. You have no legal rights here." She handed us a paper, Dad's signature at the bottom. Ethan's voice cracked. "Dad wouldn't do this." "I'll find the truth," I said. Vivian only smiled. "Try. I have more lawyers than you have medals. If you've ever been locked out of what should have been yours, type 2, below." "Mr. Monroe, Are you aware that your late father's estate shows evidence of financial manipulation? Grayson's voice was calm, but the folder he placed before me felt like a live grenade. Inside, screenshots of Raymond Monroe's financial records, unauthorized transfers to an account under Vivian's maiden name, suspicious withdrawals dated days before his final hospitalization. My stomach tightened. Is this enough to reopen the case? I asked. He nodded slowly. With this, and the trust file we recovered from his company server, we might not just reclaim the mansion. We could charge her with fraud. For a moment, the air in the office stood still. After months of silence, locked gates, and hollow legal threats, this was our opening. The court hearings began the following week. Vivian arrived draped in black and arrogance, flanked by Holly and Charles Whitaker, her high-profile attorney. She played the part. Grieving widow, misunderstood stepmother, unfairly targeted by bitter sons. But truth has teeth. And when Grayson presented the digital trust, time-stamped, notarized, and saved on a company backup drive, those teeth sank in. The trust clearly outlined the Monroe mansion and the majority of the estate were to go to Derek and Ethan Monroe. Vivian would receive a modest allowance, enough to maintain basic comfort, not a $70 million mansion and the entire family fortune. Whitaker argued duress, mental instability, even tried to discredit the file's authenticity. Then we presented Clara's testimony, the former housekeeper who witnessed Vivian intercepting letters, pressuring staff to stay silent. Then came the nurse's statement, anonymously submitted, describing how Raymond was barely conscious when signing new paperwork with Vivian hovering. Vivian's mask began to slip. Outside the courtroom during a break, she approached me, alone. "You could have just walked away," she said, her voice no longer sweet. "But you're your mother's son, always clinging to sentiment." I didn't blink. "And you're exactly what she warned us about." She leaned in slightly. "You may win the house, Derek, but you already lost your father." Her words struck like a blade, but I refused to show it. "My father may have made mistakes," I said quietly, "but I know where his heart was, and now the court will know too." The final verdict was delivered on a rainy Thursday. The will was invalidated, the trust upheld. Vivian and Holly ordered to vacate within 30 days. They didn't speak. They didn't even look back. Ethan squeezed my hand in the hallway. "We did it," I nodded. "We didn't win back a building. We protected a legacy." Weeks passed. Ethan and I stood again before the mansion gates. Not as outcasts, but rightful heirs. We could have moved in, restored it, even sold it, but it didn't feel like home anymore. "We should do something with it," Ethan said one morning, staring at the empty garden where Mom once grew roses. I looked around. What if we made it matter again? That's how the Monroe House was born, a nonprofit community center in our parents' name. We offered literature and arts programs for underprivileged youth, just like Mom would have loved. I added leadership workshops, drawing from my military training. Ethan painted a mural in the grand foyer, a forest lit by morning light, 2 boys running across a field. Children's laughter filled the halls again. One evening, as the sun filtered through the old pine trees, Ethan stood beside me. "Do you think they'd be proud?" he asked. I placed a hand on his shoulder. "They never stopped being proud. We just forgot to remember it." As for Vivian and Holly, they vanished from public life. Rumors said they relocated to Florida, living quietly off what little was left. I never saw them again, and I never needed to. Some fights end not with revenge, but with peace. If you believe legacy is built with love, not money, type 3 below.